Hi, it's Neil Baldock again. I just want to talk about the types of tenancy agreement to use when you're renting and managing HMOs, houses of multiple occupation. So the answer to that really is it will depend on the type of HMO you're managing and the type of tenancy setup that you want. So we've discussed, what is an HMO before, and we discussed that you could have a setup where you've got some sharers, so a group of friends or a couple and one friend, etc. And because they form more than one household, and more than three people, that becomes an HMO. So if you were going to have that, we would call that a sharers agreement. And if you were going to have that, that'd be a normal AST, assured short hold tenancy, and you would simply name all three or four or however many sharers tenants you have on one agreement, because they're taking that house in as one tenancy. It does make the property an HMO, but they're taking it on one assured short hold tenancy, one tenancy agreement with all the tenants named on it. The alternative is if you are renting it out by the room, which is mainly the type of HMO that we manage. And what we would do then is give an AST, an assured short hold tenancy for the room, and that would also have accompanying it a license to occupy the common parts. And the importance of that is that the tenant is only granted exclusive occupation under the AST of the room. So they don't have exclusive occupation or exclusive rights to the communal parts and the common parts, as we call them. And this is important because that means that as a manager, we're able to come and go from the communal areas as we see fit in order to do our management duties. So we can come in unannounced to the communal areas as we wish to test fire alarms, do spot checks, etc., etc. Likewise, the cleaners can come and go as they need to from communal areas, and that's because none of the tenants have got exclusive rights on the property. They do have exclusive occupation on their room, however, so it's an AST for the room. So it'd be room 1 Acacia Avenue, whatever town, and that would be an AST just for that room, and then there'd be a license to occupy the common parts which would be attached to that, and that's the sort of common agreement that we use for an HMO. So really, those are the main two. There are circumstances where you might use a license agreement, and that would be more where perhaps you've got an owner living there as well, so it becomes more of a lodger agreement. But we would suggest the main two types would be one, a sharers agreement, a normal AST naming all the tenants on there. That means they have exclusive occupation of the whole property, and they're also importantly jointly and severally liable for the rent on that property. So if one were to leave, they would still be liable for the rent, as would the other two or three that remain, and that's what one AST creates, is a jointly and several liability for those tenants. The other one, as I say, is the more common in a typical HMO, where you're just renting each room out on an individual basis. You would have an AST for the room with a license to occupy the common parts. So hope that's helpful, and if you need any more information, just give me a shout.